If you work with children with selective mutism or who are simply reluctant speakers, which they're reluctant to speak with people they're unfamiliar with, or reluctant to speak in group settings, or reluctant to speak in public, this is the episode for you. We're going to talk about how we can build these children's capacity so that they're more social and that they're communicating more in these settings they're unfamiliar with and with people they're unfamiliar with and in larger groups. So what we're going to talk about today is building that capacity. We talk about the demands and capacity model in speech language therapy a lot, and it largely originated from stuttering. When do children stutter? Well, children stutter when the demands exceed their capacity. So when the demands are heavier, for instance, a high social pressure situation or a hard linguistic situation in which you're telling a story about an outside event, then you're going to see the demands are higher, the scale is going to tip, and the capacity is going to not be strong enough to handle the demands. And that's when you're going to see a breakdown and the child is going to stutter. Here we're going to talk about that breakdown in the sense of a selective mutism or reluctant speakers. You have these demands that the holidays bring. You have unfamiliar people. You have new situations. You have new activities that they've never experienced before. Those are stressors that add to the stress. And when that stress is added, the scale tips and the child's capacity is lighter than the demands. Now, when that happens, you see the child being less social, or you see this, they kind of shut down or suck their thumb, or you see the child speaking less. So there's a tip in the scale, right? So what we want to do here is we want to build the child's capacity. So yes, you still have the demands of the holidays. You have all of the unfamiliar people, unfamiliar situations, unfamiliar settings, all of that still going on, the change in the predictable routine that they really thrive with. You still have all of those demands, but because the child's capacity on the other side of the scale is better, the child's able to handle it. And the child's still able to communicate and socialize with others despite these added holiday stressors. So what I'm going to go back to here is I'm going to adapt what we did in episode 197, the last episode, the pride approach. We're going back to the pride approach, PRIDE, and we're going to talk about how we're going to use it with children specifically with elective mutism or children who are reluctant talkers. They're chatterboxes in the home, but then when they go out in public, you don't hear a word out of them. These are the kind of children we're talking about. We don't need to pathologize it and call it selective mutism. We can just call these children reluctant speakers. So what are we going to do with our reluctant speakers or children that actually have a clinical diagnosis of selective mutism? What we're going to want to do with pride is we're going to approach it a little bit differently, in that I'm not going to tell you to take whatever they say and put it in a complex sentence form. I'm not going to tell you to make everything complex sentences. Instead, I'm going to ask you more to meet them where they are in terms of their speech, and I'm going to ask you to mirror it exactly. I actually don't want you to expand it. I actually don't want you to recast it and change the grammatical form. So me, even though I'm all about the complexity approach, I want you to instead to think, I'm going to mirror. I'm going to meet you where you are, and I'm going to stay with you at that level. Okay, so keeping that in mind as we go through the pride approach, we're going to go to the letter P. Now, the letter P, as we talked about before, it stands for praise, but praise is not good. Praise is subjective. This is telling someone you're smart. And then if they get it wrong, what does that mean? They're not smart. We want to give objective praise or objective encouragement. So once again, the P is going to stay the same, but what we're going to be praising is socialization in any types of speech. So let me describe this. So if the child whispers, right, and the child's like, so what's your name? And then the child whispers, John. You're going to just acknowledge it calmly. That was really brave of you to answer that question. And then you meet them where they are. So if they're whispering, you're going to whisper, that was really brave of you to answer that question. So if they wave to someone, if you say, bye-bye, and they wave bye to someone, even though they're really, really shy, it's like, oh, that's so hard to wave bye. Be like, that was really brave of you to wave bye. That was a brave step. So you're simply acknowledging them in a matter-of-fact manner. You're not making a huge deal out of it, like, oh goodness, I'm not going to do that again. You're just going to draw this attention to it. You're just going to calmly state, that was really brave that you waved goodbye. If they're sharing toys with another child, why, that was really brave of you to share your toys. Or if they approach, wow, that was really brave of you to come up and join them and play with them. You're just going to acknowledge that objective encouragement, those behaviors in which the child does communicate, in which the child does socialize, especially when it's in a new situation, a new person, a new setting, a new activity. You're just going to call it brave. And you're going to say, when they called your name, you looked at them. Just acknowledging those social behaviors, acknowledging the speech behaviors, acknowledging the gestures. You're just simply acknowledging them and saying, it was really brave of you to do that. You're being super brave today. So that's how we're going to handle the praise when it comes to a child with selective mutism or who's a reluctant talker or with a sensitive temperament. The second one we have here is we have the R, and the R is the reflection. So we want to just reflect on their communication. So if they're gesturing, then you gesture. So if they point to something, then you're going to go ahead and point to it as well. If they tap on something, you're going to go tap on it as well. You are just going to meet them where they are. So if they're communicating with gestures, then you communicate with gestures as well. This one, oh, you want this one? Okay, so you're just going to match them where they are. So in mirroring them, whatever they're giving you, if they're whispering, if they're hi, say hi, whisper it back exactly what they do. It's the same thing if they're making a choice. They choose to play with the trains. I choose the trains too. I'm going to reflect whatever you're doing. So once again, just thinking about you're going to meet them where they are, and you're not going to plus one it. You're not going to take it up a level, which we do in language intervention. You're simply going to mirror it. Okay, this is what you're doing, and I'm going to do the same thing. If you're whispering, I'm going to whisper. If you're using your gestures, I'm going to use my gestures. So what we're doing is we're building the child's capacity. When you're doing this reflection, you're acknowledging and accepting their behaviors by engaging in the very same behaviors. You're joining in. You're saying what you're doing is acceptable. What you're doing is, I recognize it and it's an appropriate behavior. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to imitate their level. So we're going to imitate their level of communication. If they are using whispered speech, we're going to whisper back what they say. If they say, I want that one, they whisper it. And you're going to say, oh, you want that one. You're going to whisper back exactly what they said. We're not going to add it into a complex sentence, which is what I would do if it's a child with language impairment. We're simply going to whisper back whatever they say. We're going to use the same gestures they use. We're going to also match their pace and their affect. So if they're moving really, really slowly, then you're going to move really, really slowly. You're going to kind of mirror them in kind of like the way a mime would, in the sense of if the child is approaching something slowly, you're going to approach something slowly. If the child is slowly taking toys out of a box, like slowly and carefully, you're going to slowly and carefully take the toys out of the box. So if the child is being very calm, you're going to be very calm in your nature. So this has been difficult for me because I have ADHD by nature. I'm very high energy, cheerleader type of person. I can be loud, I can talk quickly, I can move quickly. If the child is moving slowly, if the child is talking quietly and slowly, you need to follow that. You need to mirror them and join them where they are. In doing so, you're honoring how they interact with the world, how they interact with you. You are joining them and saying, this, I can interact with you. I can meet you where you are, and we can go back and forth in a space, in a place at your rate that you're comfortable with. I don't have to speed you along or rush you along. So that is one thing that we're going to want to do is, once again, when it comes to imitate, think about imitating their nonverbal communication. How softly are they talking? Or people talk about the paraverbal. What kind of facial expressions are they making? What kind of gestures do they use? How are they playing with the toys? Are they lining up the toys? Well, then we can line up the toys as well. Are they counting the toys? Then we can count the toys as well. Are they saying the ABCs? We can say the ABCs as well. Are they singing the song? We can sing the song as well. We don't need to take it up a level. This is the time where we're at their level. The next one we have is the D in describing actions. And once again, whatever they're doing, we're just going to describe it. So what are they choosing? Okay, oh, you're choosing Percy the train. There's Percy. Now you're choosing Edward. Now you're choosing Chase. And now you're choosing Marshall. You're just describing what they're doing. Oh, there's Sky. Sky's going in the helicopter. So you're just speaking at the slow, relaxed, pace that's matching their movement. Things are kind of synchronous, that you're matching, you're attuned to the speed at which they're moving, you're attuned to their affect, you're just meeting them where they are. There's times where you want to be a thermostat in which the child, for instance, seems really low and just kind of tired, and you do higher energy to get them engaged. There's times where children are all highly energetic and a little bit dysregulated because they're jumping off the walls, and you take your thermostat and you turn it down to cool things up a little bit. And once you speak really calmly and you move more slowly to lower their energy. Here you're not being a thermostat. Here you're being a mirror. You're a mime. You're miming them throughout. Instead of being a thermostat, we're going to be miming the children and where they are. And that's what we're thinking about when it comes to describing their actions. If they're being very cautious in the way that they're moving, you're not going to be like, and the train's going around the track. If they're really slowly moving the train, you might go, the train goes chugga, 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 choo, choo. You're just going to go slow at their pace and be really attuned to that. The next one we have here is enjoying the moment. Now, this is another thing. This is not going to be like happy holidays where you're just like, yay, and you're over here at level 100 and they're here at level 0. You want to be very calm with them. Use a soft smile, and you're using like gentle humor. This is not time where you'd go, ready, set, go, where you're really in their face and over the top. I find that a lot of the children I work with, sensitive temperaments, they have a very intelligent sense of humor, and they really like you kind of being absurd and goofy and keeping things light like that instead of more big jack in the box movements and big peekaboos. Like ready, set, say go, where you're putting a lot of pressure on them to say something before the jack in the box is going to come out, before they can spin the toy. There's not going to be any demands for speech whatsoever at this stage. Right now, you're simply joining the child where the child is. And the whole name of the game is when you're with the child where the child is, you guys are going to be engaged for a longer period of time. And it's going to be higher quality, the experiences. You're going to have more back and forth because you entered into the child's world. So we're entering into the child's world and we're staying in that world. And the goal is to have that 10 minutes uninterrupted tiger time every day. Carve out 10 minutes. You can set a timer if you need to, but it says 10 minutes where you're entering into the child's world and you're essentially being a mime. Okay, so this is your miming time. With enjoying the child, we're not giving directions at this time. We're not saying use your words. We're not going to make a big deal about the talking at this time. We're not going to say, yay, you were talking. This isn't the time where we're going to be a cheerleader. Yay, and you're clapping, and you're making a big deal about this. No, what we want to remember at this time is that what we're doing is we're not adding to the demands at this time. That's going to come later. We're building to the capacity. And how we're going to build to the capacity is not by asking questions, not by giving directions, not by telling the child what to say, not by making a huge deal when the child does talk and clapping and being a cheerleader, like, yay, I heard your words. All right. No, that's not what we're doing right now. We're not adding to the demands, we're adding to the capacity side of the scale. So keep in mind throughout this time what we're doing with these children who have selective mutism or who are reluctant speakers is we're adding to their capacity. There's going to be a lot of over-the-top celebration. There's going to be going on. There's going to be a lot of demands to talk from people who are unfamiliar with them. They're going to get plenty of demands over the holiday seasons. Don't worry about that. That's not what our focus is on. Our focus is on building that capacity, and we're going to do it with 100% responsive approaches. So I want you to keep in mind for that 10-minute time, what you're going to do is be a mime. For the 10-minute time, be a mime every single day over vacation. If you do that, you're going to build the child's capacity, and the way it's going to manifest and how the child socializes and how the child communicates and how the child talks is you're going to see the child making more eye contact. You're going to perhaps see the child use more gestures with others. You're going to see the child engage in more interactive cooperative play with others. You're going to see the child share better with others. You're perhaps going to see the child more engaged with others. You're going to see the child probably more comfortable when they're in unfamiliar situations or unfamiliar surroundings or engaging in new activities because you've built the child's capacity in the 10-minute time in which you're going to mime. So 10-minute time, you're going to mime. That's going to be something that is going to make a huge difference when it comes to building your child's capacity. So think about that as a speech language pathologist. If you work with parents who have children with sensitive temperaments, make sure to share this episode with them so that they can help strengthen their child's capacity over the holiday season. I want you to do what you do best, which is to roll up your sleeves and make the world a better place. One child at a time. You are always going to be first.